Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. I'm hoping that it'll only take us a few minutes to kind of warm our brains back up, maybe longer to warm our hands back up. That was a cold-fired something that we had. Okay, so our quick look at the calendar. Today we talk about something called clinical studies. This kind of wraps up our little 3-day thing on different kind of samples. We spent a day on statistical studies, like polling you guys to decide if all GCC students want more night classes. And then we talked about the capture-recapture method, which is used to estimate the sizes of populations that are difficult to count, like elephants in the Serengeti. And again, it involved taking a sample, just like you guys were a sample of the GCC population. And today we'll talk about clinical studies. Again, more kind of stuff related to that. Just a couple of notes here. Number one, the first project is due on April the 5th. I've already gotten 3 of them turned in. I'm expecting to see more soon. If you finish it early, just put it in the folder and I will give it back to you as soon as possible. But April the 5th. Yeah, you could drop it in my office anytime. Yeah. We don't have class this coming Thursday. It will be a full week before we have class again. What's happening Thursday? Advising day. So make an appointment to meet with your advisor if you can come in on Thursday. There's a whole day full of activities for you guys about resumes and advising and different kinds of things associated with that. So take advantage if you're able to. If you can't be here on Tuesday, on Thursday, that's fine. Just make an appointment for some other time to meet with your advisor. And again, this is open classroom week, so if you feel like sitting in on some classes today, there are a lot of available classes to sit in on. Okay, let's go back to page 21. This is where we start. By the way, there's another survey that I think folks have filled out, so if anybody hasn't gotten one yet, you can talk to Phil. Okay, great. Yes, Brian.
Yeah, one most.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll begin here in the middle of page 21, and we'll go all the way back to Jocelyn in the back. Okay, so here's what I want you to take away from today. We'll have a lot of vocabulary that I'm going to test you on, but ultimately I want you to ask questions, continue to ask questions or ask more questions if somebody is trying to convince you of something based on a clinical study. If you brush your teeth with such and such a toothpaste, you will have a whiter smile. Here's the clinical study. Here's the evidence that we have to support that. I just want to make sure that you are asking enough questions. That is the goal for today, okay? We'll go to Sam for number 2. Go ahead. Okay, so this is absolutely true. As cavities goes up, so does vocabulary. So should we encourage the kids to get cavities so that their vocabulary will be improved? What's the underlying thing that's affecting both of these? Age. As people get older, they tend to have more cavities and develop better vocabularies. So just because you see this kind of an association, where as one thing goes up, so does the other, doesn't mean that one of them causes the other. There could be some lurking thing behind the scenes, okay? All right, so we'll go to Justin for B.
Many clinical studies are controlled studies, which means they involve group and the control group. Treatment group receives treatment, while the control group doesn't. They get a placebo. They do not get any.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll go to Zach. Oh. Okay, thank you. We'll go to the other Zach. Okay, so the idea here is that we've got some drug. Let's suppose that we want to test whether or not this drug can help you lose weight. And so we decide that we're going to have some folks who are going to get the drug and some folks who are not going to get the drug. Why would we care to have this control group over here that doesn't get the drug? What's the point of the control group? It's for comparison purposes. You can't very well just give some folks the drug and say, oh, look, they lost weight without comparing them to another group of people that are kind of as similar as possible. So we've got these two groups. One of them gets the drug, one of them gets nothing, or maybe a placebo, which is like a fake drug that doesn't do anything. And then we can really compare and see what impact did this drug actually have on the people's weight. It's possible that if we decide we're going to put this group of people over here in the control group and we're going to choose these people specifically to be in the treatment group, that maybe consciously or subconsciously we are not choosing fairly. Maybe we are putting into the treatment group some people with really high metabolisms and they're going to lose weight regardless of what you give them. And maybe we accidentally or on purpose put people in the control group that have slow metabolisms and it's going to be more difficult for them to lose weight. And you really want to make sure that there's no human making these choices. So how do you ensure that no human decides who goes where? Is you go to this idea of the, so we'll talk about the double-blind study. At the moment, it's really just randomized controlled study. That's where a computer randomly decides who goes in which group. I have a group of 20 people in front of me. I'm not going to pick you guys to be in the different groups. I'm going to flip a coin or let a computer decide who is going into which group. Okay, that is called a randomized controlled study. Let's see, we're going around the table to Brian. Okay, oftentimes they are not as obvious as those ones there, but it's certainly something to think about. Okay, still going around to Hillary. Okay, so this is why we talked about the idea of the placebo. It turns out, suppose that I split you guys into two groups, and we're going to give you this weight loss drug, and we're going to give half of you the actual drug, and half of you we're just going to give a pill that has no effect. It's just, what do they usually put in those, like sugar? Yeah, let's just be a sugar pill. But you won't know which one is which. The fact is, there's a good chance you're going to lose some weight if you think that you are being given a drug that helps you lose weight. And this is called the placebo effect. And to me, it's really just about the power of the human mind and how controllable the human mind is. We are subject to a lot of, what is it? A lot of influence, yes. We are very much influenced. And so if we give you something and we say, this is going to make you lose weight or this is going to make you happy, there's a good chance it will, regardless of whether there's any like chemical reason in the drug for you to lose weight or become happier. Yeah.
It's kind of like I was reading a study where they gave two teenage groups alcohol. One was the real alcohol, one was the fake alcohol. And the ones with the fake alcohol, they had no idea. They all thought it was real alcohol. Acted more wild than ones the real alcohol. So it's funny, just because they thought it was alcohol, they were acting like wicked drunk. There was unlimited booze, and it was just great.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. And Jocelyn had used the word influence, and the word I was trying to come up with was suggestible. We are very suggestible, and if you tell me I'm drinking alcohol, there's a good chance I'm going to behave as if it were alcohol, even though maybe there's no chemical alcohol in the drink. Yeah. Mhm.
Individuals from different nationalities are actually sometimes they're susceptible to placebo inside the United States. In Italy, what's hypertension?
So the symptoms that we respond to are, with the placebo differ based on nationality.
Yeah, it's also interesting because the color of the placebo pill can also have an effect. was a blue pill that not good at depression. I'm sure.
Yeah. Thank you for adding. So clearly, I mean, there's a whole dissertation being done, and it sounds like it's a whole field of study that is still having research done on it. So how do we take into account the fact that if I give you this happy drug, there's a good chance that you will become 10% happier, even if it's fake. Well, what we'll do is we're gonna kind of subtract that 10% off. So let's suppose that that I have the two groups, and one of them gets the happy drug, and the other one thinks they're getting the happy drug, but it's really nothing. And suppose that the drug people get 30% happier, whatever that means, and then the placebo people shouldn't get any happier or shouldn't get sadder, but it turns out they get 10% happier with nothing. So if the drug does 30% and the placebo does 10, then what can we say the drug really does? Is the 20. Like, can you guys feel like subtracting is the right thing to do there? Like, subtract off the effect that the placebo had, and then whatever's left over, that 20%, we can probably attribute to the actual drug.
So that's how it's done. You don't actually just try to
I'm certain the reality is more complex than I'm making it appear, but for 40 minutes that we talk about clinical studies, this like I think this is I think that your roommate would be able to give a lot better information than I can. Okay, so we got that, and then we'll go to this to increase part. Where are we now? Can we go to Ashley? This right above E. Yes. Okay, so this is something Becca had mentioned earlier in class. So blind means I'm giving you the placebo and you do not know whether you are getting the placebo or the treatment. That's important. Double blind is where the researchers also don't know who's getting what. So here is a cold, harsh fact. Many of the researchers are paid by who? The drug companies. And so there is clearly a bias and an agenda happening there. And so in order to make it so that the people, the researchers who are being paid by the drug companies don't either consciously or subconsciously give the drugs more credit than they are due, we'd really like the survey to be double blind, which means that somebody else knows, there's one person in the world that knows which of you is getting the happy pill and which of you is getting the fake, and that person keeps the information entirely to themselves. Then the researchers look at all of you, not knowing which one of you had the happy pill and which one of you had the fake, and they will write down, Jason was 30% happier. You're looking quite unhappy at the moment. And they'll just record the data that way, and they will have no idea which one of you had the happy pill and which one had the fake. And then they will give that back to the one person in the world who knew what was what, and then they can do the statistical studies after that. Does that make sense? That's the whole double blind thing. Yes.
For double blind, I was in psychology. They also said like one of the main reasons was like if you know that this person's getting real or a fake one, you subconsciously act differently. Like you might just give a smile, and it might alter like what the person's thinking. Because if you give a person a smile, then all of a sudden you think you're getting the real thing, and then you change what you're thinking because that person smiled or that person.
Yeah, so there could be this whole chain reaction of stuff. Yeah, it comes back to the suggestibility thing again. That's why the double blind stuff is important. Emma, did I see your hand go up? Okay. All right, so we're going to E, and I think we're up here to Johannes.
To answer the question, let's hope the cigarettes don't work.
Okay, so this is an issue. If we want to know the effect of cigarettes, really what we should do is have two groups. One group that we say, you guys are going to start smoking, and another group where we say, you guys are going to continue to not smoke. But it's going to be really difficult to find a group of people willing to start smoking in order for us to do our study, okay? That's what we do. Iris. So this is exactly what Becca was saying. We're gonna take people that already smoke and we're gonna compare them to people that already don't smoke. But there's a weakness here. It is what it is. We're not going to get people to start smoking so we can do our study. But the weakness is that potentially people that already smoke already have some other habits that might either positively or negatively affect their health. Yes? Maybe people who smoke are more likely to eat junk food. Maybe people who smoke are less likely to eat junk food. Either way, it's a problem. And either way, it kind of gets in the way of our results here. It's difficult for us to kind of isolate smoking from all of these other behaviors because they already happen, and being a smoker might make you more inclined to be part of a different group that might affect your health in other ways. Okay, and I just want to highlight, because there's vocabulary here that can be confusing. This is a case-controlled study. What was the kind of study we talked about on the first page? They're all clinical studies, yes. I think we have it in here somewhere. Clinical study, clinical trial. Here we go. Controlled study. So you have two choices. You have a controlled study where you go out of your way to split the people up into the treatment group and the control group. That's called a controlled study. Very confusing. The alternative is a case-controlled study. They both have controlled study in them, but having this extra word in the front is our way of saying we're not bringing people in and then making a choice to give some of them the drug and some of them not. We are bringing people in and we are looking at them and say, do you already have this attribute? Are you already a smoker? Great, we're going to put you into the smokers group. Are you not a smoker? Okay, we're going to put you here. But it's not a choice the scientists are making, right? We're not actively going out and altering people's behavior. We're just looking at the behavior they've already been doing, and then we're going to separate them based on that and look at their health or whatever we're looking at, okay? So there's the controlled study, that's the ideal. Then there's this case-controlled study, and it's prone to confounding variables. Okay, I think we're up to Brittany for 3. Okay, so lots of words in there. Double blind. The people getting the drug don't know whether it's real or fake. The researchers don't know which people got the real or fake drug. That's the double part of double blind. Randomized means it was randomly decided who was going to be in the drug group and who was going to be in the placebo group. And the controlled study is this idea of the control group and the treatment group. We actively give people a drug or a placebo, as opposed to the case-controlled study, okay? So if somebody comes on the radio and says, if you take this drug, you'll be happier, or if you use this toothpaste, your teeth will be whiter, I would like to know, was it a double-blind, randomized controlled study, or was it not this standard? And of course, they're not going to tell you in their 10-second radio advertisement. But these are the questions that we need to be asking before we buy into anything that they are selling. And I use the word selling not to be cute. Like literally a lot of these things, the goal is to sell. And because money's involved, sometimes the science can kind of get clouded over a little bit. Okay, we go to 4. Where are we now? Yes, Mary.
Here are a few issues that researchers and one of their studies, participation bias, small sample size, results longitudinal study, ethical questions, studies.
Okay, these are just a few issues. Let's spend 10 seconds on each of them. Participation bias. The people that participate in clinical studies maybe are not representative of the general population. Maybe they're healthier than the general population, maybe they're less healthy, but there could be some participation bias. Small sample size. If you don't poll enough people, you might get results that don't generalize. The problem is that polling a lot of people, doing a large sample, a large trial, is expensive. And so again, money is coming in, and the people doing the study need to weigh the benefit of having a lot of people in the study versus the cost of having a lot of people in the study. Time. It's possible that the thing you are studying might take a long, long time to actually give you results that you can measure. For example, how many of you guys have a cell phone in your pocket right now? Okay, so we're looking around the room. I will say roughly 75% of the room has a cell phone in their pocket. It is possible that sustained exposure to cell phones in your pocket could cause all kinds of harmful health effects that we just don't know about yet. Cell phone technology, at least the kind where it's prominent and it's in 75% of your pockets, is fairly recent. And it's possible that maybe 10 years from now, maybe 50 years from now, we realize, oh my gosh, look at the wave of blah, whatever negative health thing happens from all the use of cell phones. It's possible that we just don't know. And so,
Asbestos.
what happened with asbestos?
They used asbestos to make walls. And it was very convenient because asbestos is really like fur, exposed fur. But they realized that asbestos releases these tiny, tiny shards of yourself that irritate your lungs and cause cancer. It's really, really harmful. So yeah, it's an invention. But it seemed really cool at first. That's really good construction.
And it took a long time for us to realize that there were these tiny things that we couldn't see that were causing like breathing problems. Yeah, great, thank you. Ethical questions. Okay, there you could take a whole course on the ethical questions associated with clinical studies. I'll just leave it at those 2 words. And then studies may promote medication. This is me on my high horse right now. I think the US is highly over-medicated, and I think that clinical studies tend to be designed in such a way that make it so that we are more likely to continue to be highly medicated. I know that the healthcare is a very, very current topic. What's the like the internet word? Trending? It is very trendy, and with good reason. I'll say that that the U.S. spends more on medicine and healthcare than any other country in the world by a long shot. And I mean like triple, like what the second highest spending country is. But our rankings in terms of all the relevant health stuff, like birth defects and lifespan and obesity and all the kind of health things, like we're near the bottom of the list in terms of like the developed countries' health rankings. And so perhaps more medicine is not what we need. It could be a lifestyle change is what we need. Yeah.
Prevention measure.
Yeah, prevention would be good. Yeah. Okay, so we have, what do we have? 15, 30, 36 minutes. You guys are going to go through Studying Studies Part 2. There are 3 articles given below. It's going to take a little bit of time to read through these 3 articles. As you read the articles, I would encourage you to maybe kind of underline and highlight what you think are the important parts to help you answer the questions that follow. You might want to start by just skimming the questions that follow, just so you know what you're looking for. So just read the thing and then work with each other. There are 3 of them, and I can walk around and answer questions.